on this episode of Concrete Reality TV.
But to even talk to those type of attorneys, you know, my first down payment was $10,000.
Yeah, 10,000. Man.
It's costly.
Concrete Reality.
Welcome to Concrete Reality TV,
where everything goes down. Everything goes. We're gonna get it cracking. So we got our friends on the line. These brothers, they got experience in life, got wisdom, got some knowledge, and we just want to kind of dig into their lives and let them, teach us about what's been going on in this system, child support system. Fathers trying to be a part of their children's lives and having to deal with this child support system as well. So we got them on the line so we can have a pretty great dialogue between each other.
I want y'all to introduce yourselves.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I am Milton Ross. Pleasure to meet everybody and having me on the show.
So what's up, man? Where you from, bro?
I am originally from LaGrange, Georgia, guys, from the country, but a little bit everywhere.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. You mind telling us your age? If we're not women on here, so we don't.
Man, I am 38, man, going on 39.
Oh, man, that's what's up. Say it. Where you from?
All right, thanks for having me on the show, number one. Number two, my name is Cedric Towns. Originally born in Birmingham, Alabama, but was raised 95% of my life in Detroit, Michigan. So I got a little swag of both.
Oh, man, your age?
Yeah, your age.
32.
Looking like he's going on 40-something.
Oh, so.
Yep.
I appreciate y'all coming through, and we're going to get on into this topic, man, called child support. It's going to be a lot more child support, though. We want to get into the system itself and where it originated from, co-parenting. We're going to discuss everything. So, tell me, if you're the research guy, what did this whole thing originate from? Where did it come from, man?
Well, from what I understand about the system in the United States, it was enacted in 1950. But our current system that we understand it to be was in 1975 under President Gerald Ford. It's supposed to be basically a system that's supposed to eliminate fathers from dipping out on their wives and families due to any hard times without having to provide any financial support to the family after they leave the household. So the system kind of came in about to hold men accountable because women ended up having to hold down the fort. So now fast forward to our current era, the system is, from what a lot of people say, is outdated because, now we have the economy's up. Men are trying to take care of their kids, but now it's kind of a burden on men that are trying to become a part of their family, even though they're not married to the women. The system kind of spanks them on the bottom, even though they don't deserve any spanking. They're trying to just continue to provide, but the system seems to still reprimand them as if they are deadbeat dads running away from their responsibility, and that's not the standard for everybody, but the system treats everybody the same. So that's what we have the discussion about today, to see if we can dig in to find out some experiences on these brother sides, because they got, kids, they've dealt with the system, and both from different angles and different stories and experiences. So I guess to start the whole conversation on this thing, we can start with, who you want to start with, Ced or Milton?
Either one, bro. Whoever want to speak first.
Guess we'll start with Milton. How did you get involved into the this whole, I guess, drama or system of child support?
Well, I guess, guys, to keep my story simple, I made the mistake that a whole lot of men made, where you keep a woman around that you typically know you weren't going to settle down with, but because they were fun and you thought you had it all under control, I continued dating her.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, I ended up breaking up with the young lady, and she tricked me to. Well, I'm not gonna say she tricked. I still agreed,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, I laid down with the wrong woman again, and had a child with her, and that's kind of how I was introduced to the system.
Mm. And then with her, how many kids did you guys end up having? Because I know the story about your life, but our viewers don't. So we're just gonna kind of dig in a little bit to find out at least the basis of your circumstances. So how many kids did you guys have together?
We have one son.
Okay, so one son. And did you end up marrying her?
No, we did not get married, thank God. That would have even been a worse mistake. And then probably to resolve my case, as you asked more questions, it probably took me about 2.5, but me dealing with it off and on about 2.5 years.
Man.
2.5 years. Wow. So when that situation changed between y'all, like what brought up the breakup and the need for you to feel like you didn't want to be with her anymore?
Well, truthfully, I had broke up with her even before the child was even thought about. I actually one of the times when I relocated and left Atlanta, when I left the Atlanta at that time, I knew that relationship wasn't going anywhere, so I left her in Atlanta. But she knew one of the things about me was to get me back involved with BA Child. I didn't have a father. My father was in prison my entire life, so that was a big thing for me not to have a child out of wedlock. So she knew that. She kind of pulled on my heartstring with that particular child.
Right.
As far as the reason why I did not want to be with her was that I'm a strong believer in I don't want a dependent. I want a partner. So and with someone I'm going to stay with, and she was more the dependent than a partner. So that was the reason why the demise of the relationship. I needed someone who was going to make me better and walk beside me, not someone I was going to take care of and walk behind me.
Right.
Wow. Right. So the relationship with you guys, once that deteriorate, did that deteriorate during the pregnancy or after the child was born?
No, sir. I caught hell during the pregnancy because I didn't want to be with her.
Oh, wow.
And since I didn't want to be with her, it was basically to try to make me suffer. So, guys, I couldn't go to the doctor's appointment.
Dang.
She would tell me if I didn't buy her furniture. She wouldn't tell me how my son was doing. And she took me down through there the entire time. I probably didn't go to I don't think I made it to a doctor appointment till she was probably 6-7 months pregnant.
Man.
We even had one particular time she even came to Birmingham. She tried to provoke me because she wanted me to lose everything because I didn't want to be with her. So I had to actually call the police on her just so I could stop her from acting crazy and not hurt our child, but also don't let her get me upset to enough to where I hurt her, because you know
how that goes.
You know how that goes. If the police come out and the woman is touched at all, even if they provoke you, you're going to jail.
Yeah,
so,
locking you up.
Right. So for my career, I couldn't put myself in that situation. So I try to do the smart thing and de-escalate issues when I can.
If you don't mind me asking, Milton, what actually do you do for a living?
I'm an HR director.
Okay. So you make a pretty good living for yourself.
Yes, I've been doing okay for a while. So I think that was one of the mistakes that I think a lot of us young black men make, is when we continue living life like we're making $20,000 when you're not in that particular category anymore. When you make more money, you gotta move differently. So
when did things, do you feel get like really, really bad? And when did you start to notice things change between you and her?
Well, honestly, guys, it was bad from the beginning. As soon as she called me and told me that she was pregnant, it was like, oh, I got you now. You gotta come back, So it was more at that point in time, she felt like she had control. And it was trying to have control over me personally because I didn't want to be in a relationship with her. Plus, she wanted control over my money. She wanted to feel like she could tell me what I was going to do with my money since she felt like she was carrying my child. And wanted to control every bit of information. So as far as it going sideways, it was sideways from day one, So I just kind of had to just eat it and do some of the things she was asking because, again, as I alluded to you guys, I didn't have a father. So I wanted to know what was going on with my son. So if it was to give her $1,000 for her to be quiet, then that's what I did. I just wanted to know how my child was doing. So it was terrible from day one and even got worse when my son got here.
Wow. Quick question. So I guess that contributed to your decision of not having abortion on the table, or was that even an option since you already kind of knew that it was the relationship between you and her were not on stable grounds? Was that even an option at the time?
Well, I'm a big component of controlling things I control. I made a poor decision to choose to lay with a woman I shouldn't have. And the child, for my opinion, shouldn't be penalized for me making a terrible decision. So for me, it wasn't an option. But again, you can't control what the woman chooses to do with her body either. The
labor procedure, were you present?
Oh, yeah, I actually wasn't even. So some of the things you guys didn't know is I didn't even, at the time, I wasn't even living in Atlanta. I was living in actually Birmingham, Alabama. She was still residing in Atlanta. I was trying to make sure that I was between my jobs and traveling, was trying to, make sure that the appointments and times and so forth to actually line up so that I could go and to support her during that entire time. I took 2 weeks off of work and worked from home so I could come to Atlanta to be there. I was in the living room, the whole gamut, supporting her. Matter of fact, she quit work a month early. And from that November, pretty much 15 months on, I was paying car notes, her insurance, her mortgage, everything.
You doing what a child's father, especially with being that y'all wasn't together. So you just wanted to make sure that, she didn't want for anything during the whole time that she was.
It wasn't 100% wanting her to not want for anything. It was a part of, I knew I messed up. The second portion of it was that she was struggling to take care of herself, even prior to the child. And then when she started having some minimum complications and she started working, at that time, I felt like as a man, regardless of me being with her or not, I was obligated to try to make sure, she got what she needed in the medical attention and had a car and, room and board to make sure she could take care of our child. The mistake had already been made. It was time, got to step up to the plate and do the right thing.
Once the child was born, did you have a say so in the naming or anything like that?
Yeah, that she did. We both came up with one name piece. So I think I came up with the middle name. She came up with his first name, and he was given my last name.
Okay, so you were involved in that process. So I'm assuming that the relationship was at least workable at that time when he arrived.
Not really. She was tolerable just because at that time I was doing what she asked me to do. I paid for, everything that my son needed, and she was happy at that point. But as far as our relationship, no, it wasn't any better than it was prior to.
Y'all didn't have a relationship or anything prior to that. So when did you feel like the complications really started at the point where you were able to question what was really going on?
So for me, kind of give you guys what we agreed to. Initially, when my son got here, and as I alluded to earlier, I wasn't living in Alabama. She stated she didn't want to work for the first 12 months. She wanted to stay at home, take care of our son, raise him, teach him everything. And after the first year, she was going to go back to work, and we moved forward from there. She asked during that year would I support her. Granted, knowing that I was 4 hours away, and there was no way I could help her every day, being that I was living in Birmingham and she was in Georgia at the time. And at that time, she had no plans of moving to Alabama. So I basically agreed to, I was basically paying my extra $1,800 a month, covering all her bills and making sure that my son was taken care of for the next 12 months. As it relates to what made me question things, is that she was always giving me excuses about why she couldn't bring my son down to see me. If you're not working, then why aren't you bringing my son to come see me? Or if I tried to take my son home with me and say, well, let me keep him the weekend while I'm off of work so I can spend time with him. The first 4 or 5 months was a fight. No, he can't go do this. Or if she brought him with me, she was breastfeeding. Instead of her going on and pump enough milk so that I could take my son with me, she would give me a half a bottle. What are you going to do with that? So that was all under to try to, to control me. So once we got to that point and I got kind of frustrated with the process, I went to say, look, something has to give. And so I went and consulted with an attorney about 6-7 months into it when my son was here, because I was frustrated. It was just like, something got to be better. I'm not going to keep spending this amount of money. And the only time I can see my son is for, a day and a half when I'm not working. And then, I'm pretty much not sleeping in it because I'm traveling all day Friday. Then I get there Friday, I see him and they weren't on a sleep pattern. So I'd be up all night, but I didn't care because I wanted to spend some time with my son. And then I would turn around and leave, Monday morning at, 2:00 Eastern Standard Time so I could be back at work at 6 a.m. Central Time. So, it was very limited. But that's what made me go consult with an attorney the first time.
So with your relationship, you guys weren't together. This wasn't okay, because I didn't know if you were still trying to make it work in a relationship.
No, sir. Only thing I told her is, look, I just want to be co-parent and I want to be a full-time father. So, I want to split his time. So whatever I need to do to get my son by the time, that's what I wanted to do. I always alluded to her earlier that, hey, you can't be a father only seeing your child, 4 times a month. And so that's kind of what made me go seek assistance. But even once I made that first decision, guys, the information I got from my attorney, man, it made me sick to my stomach.
So we're gonna get into that. So basically, you showed her that you were dedicated to being a father. You showed her that you were financially stable. We know these as facts right now. Right. You showed her that you were willing to take care of her, even though y'all weren't together or committed.
Correct.
But you saw that you were stable enough to say that, hey, even though we're not committed, I'm going to still make sure that you're not struggling during this time, that you can properly take care of my son, because, that's what real fathers do. And I, really don't like using that term real too often, but I would say also that's what responsible fathers would do. To make sure that, if this person is not capable of taking care of themselves, especially if they're responsible for impregnating this woman in the first place. So my next question is, what did your lawyer inform you of? Like, what wake-up call did you receive that changed the game?
Well, fellas, so for me, I had never been, in a situation like that. So the whole process was new to me. So when I went to meet with my attorney, I basically told him, look, I want custody of my son. And, I laid out, look, she can't financially take care of him. I'm pretty much taking care of him. Letting her know she doesn't have the support. My family is the one that's supporting him, just yada, yada, yada. And first thing my attorney told me is asked me how old my son was. I told him his age. He said, first of all, he said, is she breastfeed? I said, yeah. He said, do you live in the state of Georgia? No, sir. He said, you're not even going to get overnight visit, let alone talking about you're going to get custody of your son. It's very, very, very hard to prove that a mother is unfit in the state of Georgia to get custody of your child. He stated even if the lady was, if she could possibly been on drugs at that time, and the odds of me getting my son and him being so young was very slim to none. And he basically told me, if I take your money, I will be taking your money because there's the things that you're seeking. The odds of you getting them, but you're not going to get them.
Wow.
He told me that I need to build a case before I come back to his office to even attempt to try to get my son.
Man.
That was tough to hear when the man said, basically, I'm like, hey, we both had this child. Well, in the state of Georgia, or just law, period, the law states that if you have the child out of wedlock, the man has no rights to the child.
Dang.
So you legally, you can't even go. If the mother doesn't even want you to go to the doctor with the child or have his social security number or say you can see the child at all, by law, if you had that child out of wedlock, you can do none of it. That child can't even inherit from you. You're not even the child's father unless basically the mother acknowledges it.
Oh, wow. So I guess that's going to lead into that whole legitimacy thing, that process. So we're going to definitely dig into that because, that's part of the child support system as well. You're trying to seek the custody, trying to get primary custody of the child.
I went out full first. I didn't go out the primary, to later on, because I don't think so many of us, when we go through the process, we don't realize that every one of those terms we're mentioning are different.
Okay, so primary and full are different.
Two totally different things. Yes,
okay.
Sir. Yes, sir. You got joint, you got full, you got primary. Then you got the portion that you're talking about legally, where you're talking about that child can inherit from you, and then you got the physical portion where you share the time. Like it's split up in different ways. So if you never have been in this situation and they start talking these terms to you, you have no clue what they're talking about.
What's going on? You were trying to go after full, which means that you would be the main, the actual.
I am the parent means that the mother will lose right to the child, which I did not realize that.
Oh, okay.
So you also got to know what you're asking for. So when you ask for full custody, that means that you are the sole custody provider of the child. Means that the child belongs to you. You make all the calls, period. There's no joint custody. It means that the mother gave up rights or lost rights or vice versa with the fathers when a mother has full custody.
Wow.
So fathers never want to be in that situation because if the mother has full custody, you have no rights to the child.
Wow. And that's basically, from what you're explaining, is default after the child comes out and you guys are not on contract in a marriage contract.
Right. If you're not on a marriage, you're not married to that lady, by default, that woman or the mother of the child has full custody of the child.
Okay.
Until that male goes through legitimation.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
If you don't legitimize your child, you don't have any rights to him if you have the child out of wedlock.
So this is getting into the depths of it. We're getting into the gumbo. So with this process, how much is this costing to even start this process?
But to even talk to those type of attorneys, my first down payment was $10,000.
$10,000. Man,
it's costly. It's costly. It's very costly if you really serious about trying to get your rights. Because initially, if you're dealing with, it's not as bad if you're not dealing with a difficult woman. But most of the men who have to go through legitimation and custody are dealing with difficult women. And so you're going to spend more and more money every time that attorney has to consult you. Every time that attorney files a piece of paperwork, every time that attorney talks to you on the phone, they're all billable hours. Every time he licks a stamp or he shows up to court for you, they're billing you hours.
Wow.
And you have to pay so much money up front, which is called a retainer fee, before they even start and take that type of case.
Dang. Okay, so we're going to pause because this is kind of where this is kind of the middle ground that I want to get both of you guys to. So Said, we wanted to start with your story, introduce you and how your story started with this process of being a father and getting into the having to deal with the child support system.
Stone cold beast. As you can see, I was raised in the streets. I ain't got a